What's going on, bench warmers? It is time for another episode of the Far End of the Bench podcast. But before we get into the full episode, Nico's going to join me on the other side. We do have a center of attention this week. This one hit kind of close to home, I feel like, for both of us, because we now turned from athletes to now what former athletes like to do and go back and try and relive our glory days through athletes that we coach. And if you've been paying attention to ESPN, since there's nothing else really going on, there's been a lot of conversation about this. It's been kind of a weird week in the sporting world, I would say, especially with kind of the turnover at Fox and everything that we're seeing over there. And then this happens too. Teddy Bridgewater was suspended from his coaching position at Miami Northwestern. It's a team that he's coached for, I think, since 2018. He said he was volunteering from the stands, and he has been suspended for it's gonna sound like things that you shouldn't need to have a suspension for, but we're gonna be able to talk about this with Nico, and there is a lot of perspectives that we have to look at and kind of take this topic in different ways. But he was paying for Uber rides for his players to and from practice. He was covering meals sometimes. He was covering getting them into a sporting club, to get in a sauna, get in the hot tub, get in the cold tub, those kinds of things. Everything that a high-level Division I program and NFL programs like to offer. It's what Teddy Bridgewater is accustomed to. He played at Louisville. He played in the NFL for a long time. During his time as the volunteer coach of Miami Northwestern, he came back and was Jared Goff's backup in Detroit. So it's not like he's that far removed from everything. And it sounds like a really good thing that he's doing, because obviously if you spend any time in the Miami area, there's a lot of variation when it comes to socioeconomic status, and there are going to be kids that can afford all of these things and schools that can afford to provide these things, and there are going to be some times where it's a case of somebody coming back and giving back to the community. All of these things that he's doing are good things. If kids can't get rides, you keep them out of doing whatever else they're going to do besides going to football practice by getting them to football practice. So doing those kinds of things are great. I think it goes a step further when there's the athletic benefits, like getting the private meetings, getting the cold tub, getting the hot tub. Like, there has to be a line that's drawn. And it more than anything, I think, points to it's coming out of nowhere. And I feel like it's been overkill by the school district, the athletic board of the school district, MNW is what they're being referred to in the article that I have here. So I think Miami Northwestern, in their athletic conference, was forced to do this for Teddy Bridgewater only after they became successful and only after they already started winning state championships. So it seems like it's a little bit of overkill because of who Teddy Bridgewater is. And I can see it from a lot of different angles. It's just really unfortunate that this is kind of how we have, this is the only sporting news that's going on right now, because I think that this is something that could be resolved, should be resolved. I feel like he can still be coaching. You don't have to suspend him entirely. You maybe put sanctions on what he can and can't do with his athletes and how much time he's able to spend around his athletes. That's something that's normal all the way up through NCAA level. So I feel like there's other things that can be done besides banning this guy, who obviously very clearly wants to give back to his community and give back to the place that he feels like was a big part of his success. That is our center of attention this week. We are going to get into the full episode 239 of the Far End of the Bench podcast, top 5 sports documentaries. We'll see how broad our definition of sports are. Everything like that coming up after the intro.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
Ooh, middle of the summer, nothing going on. Ain't nothing like some scandal about lower level high school and middle school football in Miami. I don't know if you remember the Plantation team that we scrimmaged after, like 3 weeks after we scrimmaged them. It came out that they were involved in the massive betting scandal that was going on in youth football in Miami. And now we have this whole thing where Teddy Bridgewater is, I feel like, trying to do the right thing. And he's getting punished for it, and I don't know where this is going to go. But I'm interested to see what your takes are on that. But it's nice to be back. It's nice to be back on the pod, and I know you got a busy week coming. You were just back from Chicago, and you're going to be hitting the road again for the PLL, but it's nice to take a breath and have the show to get back to.
Yeah, it's great to be back. It's a lose-lose situation because in the world of the NIL deals in college, and this is why people got so mad about this originally in college, was that when coaches started giving extra incentives, or not incentives, but like extra things to sweeten their players and make them feel at home, that's when players like, oh, I'm going to go to Alabama as opposed to Ole Miss because Nick Saban is going to treat me well and give me treatment and buy me cars and all that, right? Well, high school is now become the next level because people see it as, well, high school coaches can recruit whatever and this or the other thing. I think what Teddy Bridgewater is doing is in the right place. It is definitely, and it sucks that they're hurting a man that is trying to do the right thing and hurt them. But it's also like there are ways to go around it that I don't think Teddy just wasn't aware of. Be honest with you, there's a ways to go around that, and ways that you can feed money into the facilities, feed money into the program that can assist with all this. So I think it's a live and learn situation for Teddy, and I think they'll move past it, and everything will be fine. But I don't hate the man at all for trying to do what's best for his team and honestly helping his program build even higher and higher.
Like we said, I was saying in the center of attention, like, and you just said it is coming from the right place, but they're also, I don't know, should there be a line to what they're able to do? I feel like the Uber rides I get, especially for that area, you want to keep them out of their neighborhood, keep them away from bad influences. So you're trying to keep them on the field as much as possible, but no school is going to be paying for private spa treatments for their players. That might be something like if it's a dad, it makes sense. Christian McCaffrey has been very vocal about his dad taking him out of school on game days to get IVs and allowing him to wear sweats and nearly get expelled from Valor Christian because he's not wearing the dress code properly to do those things. So if it's a parent, it's one thing. When it's a coach that has the ability to do it in a place where no other coach and no other school really probably has the ability to do it, I do feel like there has to be a line that's drawn.
Yeah, I mean, it does because high school is now the lowest level where you can't get paid to play sports and you can't get these incentives or else there'll be transfer portal like type of thing in high school, which there basically already is, where people jump around high schools more than anyone anyways. I think I remember I forget who it was, but there was a Alabama recruit or a top SEC recruit that had 5 high schools in 4 years. Like that's become the new norm because now not only do kids just feel like, oh well, this coach doesn't like me for half reason because I'm not getting enough snaps in practice. The ways of gritting your way through practice and gritting your way through programs is gone, and unfortunately, coaches have had to try to entice players not only to stay but to also come to your school, and I don't think Teddy was doing this to do that. I think he was more seeing that some of his players are going through a lot of crap and trying to just be a good coach. But at the same time, there's rules and regulations for a reason. So it's a sticky situation. And I'm sure Teddy, like by no means is Teddy doing something that is out of his hands that he's doing maliciously.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably going to be settled down to a couple game suspension. Maybe he's not able to be there for the fall camp and they have to go through their preseason training without him there. But I do feel like he's going to be back on the sideline because you can't penalize a team for being good. And that feels a little bit like what this situation is. That team got really good and other teams started to complain a little bit. I mean, we saw it firsthand. Once Logan got to Cherry Creek, all of a sudden everybody was reporting every single CHSA violation they could think of against anybody who went to Cherry Creek High School. It was a time, it was almost like the Big Brother situation where you're looking over your shoulder, not knowing who's going to be coming after you or who's in your corner. I know Teddy Bridgewater is in his team's corner. That's been clear since he took over and started working with that program. And now that he's taken over, he's just trying to do what's best for them. So I don't fault him at all. For this episode, we're kind of pulling together some different things with College Football 26 dropping. We're going to talk a little bit about what we're expecting for the college football season. We'll talk about our biggest hopes and our biggest dark clouds. What would be the worst case scenario when we're sitting next year in July on this show? I think that would be like episode 340 something. So we'll see what happens there, but we'll do those things. And then obviously Dustin Poirier is ending his career, is what he said. I feel like if he wins, we don't know, but he's fighting Max Holloway for the third time. I believe this is the rubber match. They've each won one time, and it's for the BMF championship. So we'll be able to talk about all those things plus top 5 sports documentaries. But we're getting into our first segment, hopes and dreams. So what are you most looking forward to? What would make your sports calendar year, which goes from the start of football season till we're sitting here again after the NBA championship? What do you think is your biggest hope that you're most looking forward to if this happens?
Look, I could do the easy route here, saying, well, the Broncos were a playoff team last year. Let's see what Bo Nix looks like. That's not even like if this past offseason didn't happen for the Denver Nuggets, that would have been up there. But seeing the new weapons Nikola Jokic has me thrilled to see what this Denver Nuggets team looks like next year. There's new blood that's going to be brought into the ball arena. There's going to be new energy brought into that starting lineup by adding Cameron Johnson. I have high hopes for Cam Johnson. Me and a couple of my buddies talking, man, Cam Johnson could be an all-star level player. Right, like he could be an all-star level player if he plays to his level with Jokic on the floor with him, and I think I'm so excited to see how he looks with his team, how he fits in this group, and seeing a bench that I get to watch young guys develop while having veteran experience around it. Right, seeing Tim Hardaway, seeing Valanciunas more than likely going to be playing for this team. I know we'll talk about when it's confirmed. Having Brucey B, have Tim Hardaway, have Valanciunas, have these guys vets leading Peyton Watson, leading Joel Shaw there. I'm so excited to start this season already for the Nuggets. I know that everyone's counting down the days till training camp, so the first preseason game for the NFL. I am counting down the days until the NBA starts. I can start seeing what Cam Johnson looks like in this lineup, because I know the Broncos are going to be a halfway decent team. We don't have look. We don't. Maybe we'll have a different conversation come November, but we don't have Super Bowl or die hopes as a Denver Bronco fan. With the Denver Nuggets, you have championship or die hopes right now. And with this roster, how it's constructed, I am ecstatic to see how this team forms together, how Adelman, this new coaching staff, which I think he's felt a fantastic coaching staff together, looks going to year one as a full season together. I'm so excited to see how this looks and how things go from there, because boy, it's going to be a fun basketball season for Denver, us Nuggets fans.
We're going to get to see if the power of friendship can really pull something off that's magical, because bringing Brucey B back, I feel like that's been the buzz around the entire state. Anybody who's a Nuggets fan, a basketball fan within Colorado has been just ecstatic since he's made his return. Kind of like how when EJ made his return to the Avalanche, everybody got really happy. I have a couple, obviously, like the Avalanche are always an expectation, and I feel like with what they've done, and they're giving themselves the ability to do something. And it's the first time that we have Landeskog. We haven't had to worry about Val going back to the assistance program. He's been able to be a kind of a consistent presence within that Avalanche roster. I feel like this is the make it or break it. I don't feel like they're going to fire McFarland and tell Sakic that
Beds needs to go before those two.
I feel like, he's not on a hot seat, but if it's another first or second round exit, it goes back to that same conversation we were having before the first cup run. Like maybe it is somebody else's turn to try and get this thing back over the hump. The first two cups in the franchise's history was won with two separate head coaches. My real biggest bright spot, if everything turns green and I don't have anything to worry about, I have a great school year because I'm able to talk about the Bengals not being 0-3 to start the season. Their offense takes that continued upward trajectory, and Al Golden is able to come in and hopefully with guys that are better off in the injury sense, hopefully guys that are somewhat pleased with their money situations, because we still have to take care of those things. Like I said, it takes a lot for this to happen. But if the Bengals can put everything together, this can be a team that is very good, because watching that quarterback documentary series, the offense and the team was special at so many times throughout last season, but that defense was just god-awful. So if we're better than god-awful on defense, we have a chance to win 10 games. Winning 10 games right now is kind of at least the benchmark to being a playoff team, and you have to take advantage of the money that you spent. If you are not in the playoffs again, that is a waste of $175 million on the offensive side of the ball, and you're 1 year closer to having that big blow up on defense. So the Bengals are my biggest hope and dream, but that is riding on a lot. I feel like there's a pretty big negative outcome on that hope. Hope is not a strategy.
The other hope, I'll throw, because you threw two out there, I'll throw another one out there, because we don't talk about this a ton every single week during the season, but like the Grand Canyon University Antelopes basketball team will be in the Mountain West Conference this upcoming season. Mm-hmm. We'll be playing CSU. We'll be playing Wyoming. We'll be playing Air Force. We play the big time schools this season. And honestly, I don't know what to expect, because the Mountain West has been very, very good good the past couple of years, and having GCU enter it first year after a lot of big changes have happened roster wise. Obviously, a lot of I think 4 of the starting 5 have moved on to the next level, so it's going to be an entirely new roster. Should be really interesting how GCU moves to the Mountain West Conference. A move that was made confirmed a couple weeks back. So I'm excited. That's probably the last hope and dream is that the Lopes can compete for a maybe at-large bid if we have a great season in the Mountain West and be sniffing around the Mountain West championship game come the end of or beginning of March.
No disrespect to the WAC, but even a conference like the Mountain West holds more prestige and they get more of a look when it comes tournament time. So yes, GCU will be more in that conversation consistently. Is there any possibility that you might have no idea about this, but a football program, if they're in the Mountain West, I feel like they might have the resources to start developing something?
So since I'm on the dirt sheets and I read everything about GCU and try to keep up to date about my antelopes, our president came out and said a couple things that I thought was very interesting. He did say that with the move to the Mountain West, there is a possibility of that, but with that would come years and years of dedication where you'd have to get rid of a couple sports programs as it is, and you have to deplete some other sports programs, and B, you have to build a bigger stadium than the one you currently have, which only holds, I believe, 3,000 people at max, and obviously you have to have at minimum a 30 to 40,000 stadium for the Mountain West, I believe. I don't even know what the number exactly is. So it's going to take a long, long time for that to happen. And what Brian Mueller, who was our president, what he really touched on, and I honestly don't think it's a bad idea either because the way the basketball programs are going, but they've invested all of their resources into the basketball program, women's and men's. Obviously, the women's team last year had 2 losses. The head coach was incredible. She left to another program. And now the men's program obviously been in the tournament for the last 5 years. That's where they've invested their time and money into. And I think that's a great starting point. I think eventually, if you want to continue becoming a big-time university in the country, and which GCU is slowly becoming, like you're going to – football is the next step. But I still think we're a ways away. I think the Mountain West saw the movement of teams leaving the Mountain West and saw I believe it was CSU, Boise State. Who were the other teams? I don't remember the other ones going to the Pac-12. Now, yeah. Pac-2.
I think probably San Jose State.
San Jose State.
I feel like that.
Exactly. A couple of those teams leaving, and they were like, you know what? Let's try to build our basketball program back up with one of the best mid-major teams in the country in GCU, which they did. So I don't think the Mountain West sees it necessarily as a football opportunity right now, but I do think it has a chance to eventually get there. But I don't see it in the cards for the next 5 to 10 years. I would say in my lifetime, I would say we get a football program. I wouldn't say soon it would be.
And you probably start off at a lower division to build that infrastructure because that's what a lot of these, like UTSA is a program that went from these lower levels. It's been confirmed now that North Dakota State and South Dakota State are both going to be moving into the Mountain West in 2027. So they're a program that's gone FCS to FBS, but it is like a 10-year process just to get into the Division II ranks. And then you got to be able to develop and keep a coaching staff and keep a pipeline going. I feel like Phoenix has a really positive, like once you get it there.
There's a beautiful stadium right there right now. The soccer stadium is fantastic. The only problem is that it's one side of the stadium that's nice, and the other side of the stadium has no bleachers at all. So if you want to upgrade that stadium, and this is going to be a lot, and I mean a dumb amount of money to do all that, and then GCU is still building and doing all that and the other things. So like I said, I would love for it to have football. I would be the biggest GCU football fan and have all the GCU football merch in the world, but we're a ways from that. So I will enjoy my basketball while we have it. So
that's why I download them every year, and I downloaded them.
Oh, I already have a season with them going, so don't worry.
Yeah, no, I don't play with them, but I always make sure that they're good because I love playing them in the playoffs in championship games. I downloaded it's Colorado, but it's in the old Broncos colors, and they've been a powerhouse. So I'm playing out the rest of the week. I need to wait till payday to get college football 26, and then we'll figure out where we're going from there. Before we get into our college football expectations, because I know that sounded like a segue, we talked about the good side of things. Let's put it out there and hope that it never actually happens. I know that this is This is tempting fate, and we're both not superstitious, but we're a little stitious, pretty superstitious, former athletes and everything like that. Gravest outcomes, what would be the thing that just totally tanks the sports calendar?
I wouldn't say this tanks the sports calendar, but man, it'd be such an absolute bummer. And I saw this actually the conversation come up on Altitude this week was if you look at the last two most pro ready quarterbacks coming into the draft out of the last 3 years, those would be Bo Nix, which a lot of people said last year, right? And a couple years back, Mac Jones. And you look at what Mac Jones and Bo Nix did in their first year, very similar numbers. Very, very similar numbers. Very similar records, very similar numbers in terms of their production on the field, their win-loss record, and what they did overall. So my biggest worry right now is that Bo Nix takes that massive step back that Mac Jones took in year 2 in New England. I do think it's a much better situation, and Sean Payton is going to be all hell break loose if it makes Bo Nix regress like that much. But that would be one of my gravest outcomes is that Bo Nix turns into a Mac Jones level player, where we're talking about replacement next year for whatever reason, and he takes that step back. And you have a great defense and it does nothing because the offense takes another step back. So my gravest outcome is that.
I feel like there's definitely a lot more pressure because of that defense. Now they're being ranked in the top 5, and it's warranted, especially with the talent, if it can stay healthy. And Greenlaw has already had a little bit of like a hamstring issue so far in just the OTA stuff that they've had to do. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning, and we don't have the dedicated NFL segment, but I've been listening to a lot of the local stations, and 104.3 was having more of a drawn-out discussion. You don't have your first 2-round picks signed. I don't know if Jahdae Barron might have signed today because it was the first day that rookies can report. But so far, there's a thing going around the NFL. I think it was Carolina. Somebody gave their second-round pick a fully guaranteed contract, which goes against the norm of what everybody's been doing, where it's just the last 2 years that are guaranteed. So fully guaranteed contract. The Bears, who drafted a guy right before him, also gave in and gave a fully guaranteed contract. So it seems like throughout the NFL, all second-round picks right now are trying to band together to make sure that they all get fully guaranteed contracts. So RJ Harvey is not signed. I haven't seen anything about Jahdae Barron signing his contract. We've talked a lot about the guys that my team hasn't signed, but those are 2 guys that are sitting out there now. Not saying that they're going to be signed,
yeah,
but
it just does not wait for week 1. But it is a little frustrating, I guess. I won't. Look, both of them were at rookie minicamp the whole time. It's not a situation like Shamar Stewart was in, where they were like, basically he didn't do anything and wouldn't be able to walk. They were at rookie minicamp. Both of them were getting reps in, getting familiar with the team. That stuff doesn't happen if they're not on good terms. And look, I'd be very, very surprised come the first preseason game that they're both not getting first team reps and getting reps. So it's a story, but it's a push under the rug. If it gets closer and closer, I think then it'll become more of a story. But right now, it's not that big a deal with me.
I think my gravest outcome is I feel like it's going to be tied to the Avalanche because I want to see what a full squad can do, a team that Chris McFarland has put together. So injury to Landeskog, if he's not able to hold up throughout the entire season, that would put a really big damper on things. Any of the big guys like Makar not being able to bounce back, if McKinnon isn't able to play at that all-world level, if one of these things doesn't go well for this team, it just feels like we're sputtering. And like we said, maybe that's the time to move on from coaching. But if you do that, it's not a guarantee that it's going to get better right away. So I feel like for my sports calendar, I would love to see the Avalanche in that position we were in where they're good throughout the season. They gel together. They maybe make one big move at the trade deadline or maybe a couple medium-sized moves at the trade deadline, make themselves that true cup contender. If you come out of the West, you have a very good chance. As long as you can stand up to the bullies that are the Florida Panthers, we have a decent chance of possibly winning another championship. And if it doesn't work out, it's just a waste. And then I feel like, that window started off pretty wide open and then not closed, but you're going to have to open it again. I feel like after this season.
Yeah, I mean, the window is closing everlasting, and it's going to get worse and worse. So it's you have to maximize the chances you have. That's for sure.
All right, with the release of College Football 26, we're going to get into our first look at the upcoming college football season by kind of taking a look back. Obviously, last season was the first time with the 12-team playoff. First 4 seeds had a bye. Didn't work out for any of those teams. All of the teams that played the first weekend ended up moving forward and playing themselves well. Ended with Notre Dame and Ohio State. Ohio State getting that national championship in spite of losing their rivalry game to Michigan in the last week. Just with that first season of the 12-team playoff, we talked about it, but people might have been not listening at that point. Maybe they're just joining the show. What were some of the good things that we saw from this expanded football playoff and this season that we got from it?
Well, I mean, we saw a team that played in the first weekend win a national championship. First weekend of the 12-team playoff, and that was Ohio State. Ohio State had to go through a little bit of adversity to win a national championship, and they did it. I was very, very surprised with how much not diversity, but how much transparency that the league had, the college football committee had with who makes what and how all those seedings work. I think in going to year 2, you want to see a little bit more good teams walk themselves out from the week. Because last year, like I said, we made an argument at one point of the show, 6 different teams to win a national championship. I think if we go into next year, we have 16, or go into this season, if we have 6 teams again, could mean that either A we'll have an electric regular season and we'll have an electric playoff, or B, it could really be bad for the product. Like I said, it's almost this is what college basketball is struggling with. College basketball has such great disparity right now across their 4 major conferences that you really feel that the champion can come from anywhere across the country, right? But right now in college football, it seems like it's going to be Big Ten or SEC, and obviously that's for a reason. But like, you want to see an ACC school get some love. You want to see a little Mountain West energy here and there. You want to see the Boise States of the world, who had Ashton Genty last year, get a little bit of love and maybe make a deep run. Or else you're going to be sitting here again, where we're going to be seeing Texas and Ohio State in the national championship again. Or we'll be like, well, this is the same thing we basically have had the last couple of years, I guess. This doesn't really change anything. What makes that's the worst part about what this schedule does to you, because when you add more games like they have, it's a higher chance of injury. And come February, come when the NFL Combine's going on, if you have top talents getting injured because they're playing extra games in the playoff, this is going to be a problem. So I would be very weary of seeing how this bracket goes out this year and how you expand the playoff, because D1 pound or ground and pound football is much different than what D2 and D3 do in terms of extra games. And if those guys want to have real NFL hopes and want to be first round talents, let's hope that these games don't come back to bite them in the ass.
It's right now going to stick at 12 for the upcoming season, but they're already trying to figure out how they're going to move it to 16. And there's been a couple different. I listened to the Joel Klatt show, and he does a much better job of breaking it down. He knows a lot more because he goes to these meetings, but it will be expanding at some point. I feel like last year, honestly, we're going to see probably a flip, mainly just because of how those teams that we got in on Cinderellas, the SMUs, the Boise States, how bad they did look in the games that they got. Like, that was it's the same thing that we said about Cincinnati when they made the 14 playoff. If you don't perform well, you're kind of proving the point of the playoff committee saying, well, we're just going to pick an SEC school to fill this spot because we can. Last year, I think that they mainly kept that hard cutoff at 3 losses. If you had 3 losses, it was very difficult for you to get in. So I don't know if that's how they're going to continue forward. I think that they're changing, instead of it being just 4 conference champions get the buys, it's going to be seeded straight. So 1 through 12, however you finish in that last college football playoff ranking is how you'll go on the bracket, which I don't know if it's favorable, because we said last year the bye was not favorable for any of those teams. It totally disrupted all of your momentum, and none of those teams were able to bounce back. Like, Oregon is still looking to – did the game start yet? Ohio State scored again. Did the game start yet? Are we sure?
Yeah, I mean, like all four. Was it all four 1 seeds lost, or I think one of them got
All
through.
4 of the bye teams lost.
So it was. I mean, like I don't. If I were, I know we want to say, well, the top 4 buys should be conference champions, right? I know all the fans in the world are saying that. I don't think the conference champions would rather it not be that way, and rather, well, we just get seeded how we are. And if you want to seed 4 Big Ten / SEC schools in the top 4, knock yourself out, because we'd rather not have a bye. I don't know. It's I don't know. I need more. I needed to see more data here before I say we need to change everything about the 12-team playoff. And you see more data year 2. Let's see how it goes.
For the upcoming season, I kind of wanted to get into this because I saw it yesterday, and I don't necessarily disagree with everything. I feel like there is a lot of hype around this guy, and it's the cover of this week's podcast. But Arch Manning, there are people who are already anointing him as his uncle. He's going to be as good as Peyton was in college and be able to live up to that name. I think that he showed that he's good, but there was some good points made. The games that he's played so far against Louisiana Monroe and Texas San Antonio, he has not started.
He also got start the games, but he played against Georgia. He played against some other schools, and he looked bad. He didn't look great against those. So
it's not going to be a situation, I think, where he comes in and lights the world on fire. I think by the end of the season, when he gets comfortable in that Sarkisian offense, and I think Sarkisian has to figure out how to use him too, because it's a different quarterback than what he's had with Ewers.
It's the same thing I said last year. Is like that offense wasn't built for Quinn Ewers. It was built for Arch Manning. So I think the seamless fit is going to fit a little bit better with Arch going into the regular season and having a full off season of full spring ball and off season where it's his team and offense can really be built around him. Because you look at what Sarkisian ran at USC, you look at what Sarkisian ran at Alabama when he was the offensive coordinator there. Like it's going to fit Arch's style more than it is going to be fitting of Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers was a gunslinger that was very inaccurate down the field. He was accurate in the short range. Arch is going to have more of an arm, going to have a little bit more legs underneath him, and I think that's going to help Sark and this offense even extend even more. And I think that he's going to be the odds-on favorite to be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft next year because of his name. But I do think he is going to be a Heisman favorite and at least one of the 3 or 4 people that will be attending the Heisman Trophy ceremony come December or whenever that is.
I feel like we're going to be seeing somebody that comes out of nowhere, but he's a guy that people talk about. Nussmeier out of LSU is a guy that people talk about for the Heisman. Jeremiah Love, the running back for Notre Dame. Speaking of Notre Dame, they did a hell of a job under Marcus Freeman in this 12-team format, getting into the bracket, beating Indiana at home in a playoff game, and then going on that run all the way to the championship game. Do you have confidence that Notre Dame will be able to repeat that formula? Did they figure something out under Marcus Freeman, or was that 1 year? Like, they did really well in the first couple of years of the college football playoff too, and then they never got back there. So do you have confidence in Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish to repeat what they did in 2025?
I would say yes, because the thing Notre Dame has that helps them so much as opposed to years past is getting into the top 4 was a lot more difficult path for Notre Dame every single year than it is getting to the 12-team playoff. What that means is that when you're recruiting, if you're Notre Dame, you're like, we just made the national championship last year. We have a coach, a player's coach that everyone loves, Marcus Freeman. We have a Heisman hopeful running back. We have a great defense. We've had a great offensive line for a lot of years, right? If you were a top recruit in the country, and Notre Dame has had great recruiting classes the last couple of years for a reason, you realize this is a spot that I want to go to because I'm going to have a chance to win a national championship, right? There's 2 things that you go. There's two main areas of thought process of where you're going to go for college football when you're a top level recruit. A, what's going to set me up best for the NFL? Notre Dame does that. It's had NFL talent for years and years and years. And B, what gives me a chance at winning and playing high level football at the end of the season / national championship level football? Notre Dame does that. And they are in that upper echelon because they've obviously just showed it. So I would not be surprised again if Notre Dame, like I said, Notre Dame is loving the chance at the top 4 buys being just seeded, not because of national or conference champions, because that feeds right into them. Because they can they can help their schedule even more. They can get a bye, and they'll never join a conference if that's the case. So I think it's It's very sustainable if you're Notre Dame. Very.
Well, they do. They kind of play an ACC conference, even though they don't consider themselves a part of the ACC. With the ACC last year, Miami looked like they were going to be the representative. They falter and lose to Syracuse, and then don't even make the conference championship game. We were writing off Clemson. They kind of got hot, and they won the conference last year. Is this a year that is it those two teams in the ACC? Are they going to be playoff contenders, or is it just going to be kind of the pity bid? Because I feel like the ACC is one of the last power conferences that gets pity, kind of like how the Pac-12 used to. So between Clemson and Miami, do either of those teams make the ACC bid for the playoff?
I mean, one of them will have to. I think it's. I still think that the committee is going to be like, they still won the conference and still above, quote unquote, above some of these lower level conferences like the A10 and the WAC or not the WAC, the MAC, like the talent level is above that, so they will get a automatic bid. I think that it's going to be that fourth spot, and it's going to be it's going to be we're going to have a Mountain West school. We're going to have an A10 school. We're going to have one team that just goes on a stupid run where they go undefeated or have one loss, and they'll be ranked above an ACC school in the top 12. I guarantee it. Miami is losing Cam Ward, obviously. Clemson has Klubnik coming back, so that's going to help them a lot. But Dabo's already said that he's not going into the fucking portal. So I don't know. I worry about the long-term aspect of both those teams, but we'll see, I guess.
It does feel like both teams are at a crossroads. Clemson was able to still sustain some sort of success, but with Miami, I think that this is Cristobal's last season to kind of prove you can't. You had that terrible game where all you needed to do is kneel within 5 seconds against Duke, and you fumble, and then give up the touchdown return on the fumble. And then last year, you were basically guaranteed a shot in the ACC championship. All you have to do is not lose on the road at Syracuse, and you couldn't do that. You've had the talent to be able to be represented in the playoff, yet this is not the Miami that the fans of the late 80s and the early 2000s are used to seeing. The Canes aren't what they once were. And we keep saying that they're bringing their swag back, but the swag is not fully returned. And I feel like I don't necessarily have confidence that this is going to be the season that they do it.
I mean, Cam Ward was the guy that really elevated this team last year, and now obviously he's out the window. So it's going to make or break year for the U.
Two more things on college football, and then we can get into the UFC that's happening this weekend. But first, Lincoln Riley had that big change from Oklahoma going to Southern California, had a decent season with Caleb Williams, but it hasn't been good the last two. Finished 7-5 both seasons, losing talent to the transfer portal. Is this the season that we see Lincoln Riley's program finally become established and the Trojans get back to their former winning ways and compete in the Big Ten Conference? Because that is a shift for them, but they were right there in a lot of games. A lot of one-possession losses last season. Is Lincoln Riley going to figure it out?
Not in the Big Ten, he won't. I mean, I don't believe that he's going to look. This is the biggest problem USC is running into with the addition to the Big Ten is like they're going to have to play in Michigan. They're going to have to play in Ohio come late October or late November. Like it's going to. No, I will stand on that. Lincoln Riley made a horrible decision, and I think that USC would have been fitted much better for the SEC in terms of warm weather football and that play stop. USC does not play
long ass road trips.
Exactly. USC does not play a lick of defense, and the Big Ten is defense heavy. So it's I would say no. And frankly, the only team that's hating their move to the Big Ten worse is UCLA. So I just don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's that. I'm not that confident in USC and what Lincoln Riley could get.
Last one. What is the floor for CU to keep whatever hype that they have rolling? I'm not going to sit here and say that they need to be in the playoff, but what is the floor of success that they need to meet in order to stay on this trajectory, replacing two generational players that played for your team? They have both of their numbers retired in Shador and Travis Hunter. How is this program going to stay on track and still be made in Prime's image?
A bowl game. That's
and winning it. Winning a bowl game or just playing in one?
I would say winning a bowl game. That should be the goal. They're not a unless something crazy happens, they're not going to be playing in the Big 12 championship game. So I would assume that maybe they can sniff around the Big 12 championship game, maybe have a couple teams like Utah and whoever to have some bad seasons, and maybe you get lucky. But a bowl game and a bowl win is at the minimum.
I feel like it'd be another progression step, and there's no reason why they can't be in Big Ten contention because what they were able to do last season. If you keep yourself within 3 losses, you will have a chance down the stretch. All you have to do is not lose to Kansas and Arrowhead last year. Arrowhead has just not been a happy place for the state of Colorado when it comes to football. That was the make or break. And then I think that totally trounced all the momentum going into the bowl game too, and BYU took advantage. BYU also not going to have their quarterback. He is not going to be there for next season, so the Cougars might have a different time in the Big 12. They had kind of a breakout season last year too. Anything else on college football? Oh, you said GCU, you have a season going with them. Of the teams that are actually in Division I college football, if you were to start a dynasty in college football 26, because I don't know if you've heard, the teams get money based on how much they get used. What team are you choosing for your dynasty?
Well, I mean, I was just at Northwestern University this past weekend, and the facilities are beautiful in Chicago. So I'll probably start one with them because they're
private school kid.
It's a nice school. The facilities are beautiful. We got to jump in the lake after work. The facilities are crazy. So I don't know. I may rock with that, or I may rock with just like a CU again because they're lower level or something. Or I don't know. I haven't even thought that far. So I've been just doing Road to Glory. So, I'll probably start with a Northwestern or something and go from there.
I did do a Road to Glory with a quarterback at CU, and I will tell you that the receiver room is so much fun to play with in the video game when you play at CU. Just deep balls all day. I might check out Delaware. I don't know. I hired Carly as my athletic director, so she's choosing the school out of the 138 playable, and I don't know what she's going to pick based on anything. I might have to tell her about the teal. I'll tell her about all the different colored turfs, and maybe that might sway an opinion. But
Tulane has a bunch of sick jerseys. UCF has some sick jerseys. I'm trying to think who
the
else.
Chanticleers, Coastal Carolina
has some nice jerseys. Oregon, if you want to just play on expert level and have sick jerseys, you can do that.
Jerseys, uniforms, combinations, helmets, everything.
That's how you do it. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes.
It'll be interesting. I've been in the thick of it in 25 with Fresno State for the last few years. We're in the Big Ten, about to establish ourselves as Big Ten champions for the second year in a row. I'm excited for 26 to come out and see. It's just nice that we have a game to talk about every year. I am making the switch. I'm not going to buy the disc. I am just going to buy the downloadable version because, like I said, I've gotten a portal, and I can switch now from the new show that I picked up and College Football 26 when I feel like wanting to switch over. Speaking of switching over, the UFC 318 this weekend, headlined by the BMF title fight, Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. Dustin Poirier is reportedly retiring after this fight. I believe that's probably going to be the case. He is coming in with a 30-9 record, been fighting, I think, 16 years professionally, done it all, fought everybody that's been in front of him, been a champion at certain points. There's really not much more that he's going to be able to accomplish in his career besides adding a BMF title to his legacy. And what better partner for him to have than a guy that he's already had 2 pretty big wars with. And he got the better of him in the first matchup when Holloway was really young in the UFC. Once Holloway had a little bit more experience, he was able to come back and use his boxing and take over that fight. Poirier's kind of been on a tough stretch, and he's older, but every fighter has one good fight left in him at some point. And I feel like this is going to be a treat one way or the other, because these two guys will go out there and just die for glory and stand there in the middle of the ring until somebody falls.
I mean, if you look at this card top to bottom, it's built for these two. Like there's no other championship bout on this one. There's very rarely has the UFC ever put on a UFC pay-per-view card where it's a card with only with no championships on it. And look, I understand the BMF title is a title, but it's a made-up title, okay? That they just throw around for promotional uses, okay? But it's still like this is a fight that Both guys are highly respected, highly loved. Like Poirier fans love to watch Holloway fight. Holloway fights fans love to watch Poirier fight. This is as lovable as a fight as weird as it sounds is going to be. But at the same time, these two are not going to hold anything back. And that's who the two fighters are. And I think obviously Max has a little bit more legs underneath him. He's 3 years younger, but he's at the end of his career too. This may be the last time he headlines a pay-per-view event. So I am just ecstatic to see this fight. Poirier deserves all the flowers in the world. He has been a class act from day one. I think back to those McGregor press conferences where Poirier just basically just was a young child the first couple and lost his mind, and then he got older and he was like, you know what, I'm better than this, and he just dominated Conor and made him look like the little bitch that he is. So I am ecstatic. Poirier, look, I don't know about predictions because Max is obviously a lighter fighter, and he fights a lighter weight as opposed to Dustin, and it really showed in that first fight between these two guys. But the second fight, Max obviously had the upper hand, but I think Dustin throws it all out the window and wants to get that BMF title and just finish his career as the BMF and never get held by anybody else.
I feel like he also wants to not finish, like finishing with under double-digit losses is a pretty cool feat, especially when you've been fighting as long as he has. And 31-9 feels a lot better than 30-10. And I know that he wants to be able to be out for his family and be a father. And him and his wife are one of the better stories just in the sporting world in general, being together throughout this entire time and never straying, never wavering, and all those good things. So it's one of two of the really good guys in the UFC, because Max Holloway is another great guy. Two of the
best, not just really good, two of the best guys the UFC ever had.
They help out where they're from in Hawaii and in New Orleans. I know that this is in Vegas. It'd be really cool if it was somewhere out in New Orleans where it'd be a little bit more of a home turf advantage for Dustin Poirier. But
it's in the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. So it is. So it is in New Orleans. So that does add a little bit of love to it.
How loud do you think the arena is going to sing "Shine Bright Like a Diamond" when the walkout?
Well, first of all, for those real Dustin fans, know that's not his walk-up song. For those that really know Dustin, know that it comes out to "A Bad Man" by James Brown. And it's one of the greatest walk-in songs the UFC has. Like it's so damn good. And I know he switched it for that one fight, but he guys ass kicked that fight. So I would be very surprised if his classic song does not come out and walk out with him.
Speaking of just classics, the intro to the UFC countdown, which we're going to get into.
Sorry, not the Bad Man, the Boss. That's what he called. Not the Bad Man, the Boss.
It's great when he's got it. He's always had it. And when we get to our sports documentaries, UFC Countdown will make its appearance. But the intro that they had for this one, when he's going into his training camp for this fight, it was one of the better ones that's been out in a while. If you're betting, I know Nico's not talking about this. I'm the one that's saying it. Poirier right now sitting at plus 110, Holloway at minus 130. So pretty dead even in that one. Other fights, the co-main event is going to be Paulo Costa and Roman Kopylov. Kevin Holland is making an appearance on this card, still fighting. Jesus. And then Patricio Pitbull, I know, is a big name from Bellator, but he's a decent-sized underdog. And then Michael Johnson and Zellhuber. Daniel Zellhuber.
The only name I see on there, the guy that's had a sniff around the title picture a few times, Italian blood, Marvin Vettori. So that's the only other one I recognize off this card. So.
And that's on the undercard on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and Disney Plus. But the pay-per-view will kick off with Michael Johnson and Zellhuber, Ainge and Patricio Pitbull, Holland and Rodriguez, Costa and Kopylov, and then we'll get the main event. I'm hoping that the last few pay-per-views, even though we don't really know everybody that's on the card, it's been really entertaining fights. And with this card, the way that it's going to end, it feels like that. I know that the main event ended up being bad, but if we have a few fights that are like that, Lawler and who did he fight before McGregor knocked out Aldo? Now I can't. McDonald. If we can get something, it's probably not going to be that good, but just wars, people trying to go for it, not win by points. I want to see finishes. I want to see submissions. I want to see knockouts. I want to see violence, because the main event is going to be all violence.
This is a card where you can make a name for yourself very, very quickly. It absolutely is because like I said, it's a lot of not bigger names, but people are going to buy the fight because of Poirier and because of Holloway's name. You have a chance. There's some chances on this card to make a name for yourself.
Yes. Let's get into our top 5 sports documentaries. I've had you go first for the last few, so I'm going to go ahead and get
and I will put it in documentary / docu-series because I know that's been because I think documentaries nowadays have become docu-series where it's now been more episodes. Right? I kind of like too. So the more content we get, the better.
It'll be. I mean, that's been what a lot of them are. I still like the good one-shot documentaries, but that's mainly like when I go back and watch them. First one. Well, actually, I'll start from the bottom. 30 for 30s. They've been great ever since they started, but I really stuck with the Pony Express one because as a college football historian, that was the first time that I was exposed to the SMU story, and they had Eric Dickerson in their backfield, Craig James. The amount of money that was flowing through Dallas, Texas was a little bit absurd, and it was obscene, and it's the only program in history to have ever been completely shut down because the NCAA slapped their wrist twice, and SMU was like, oh, they won't do it again. This won't happen again. And we have the 30 for 30 Pony Express. That's one of my favorites. I was going to put in there the Four Falls of Buffalo, but I don't want to piss off Buffalo any more than they probably are because
we could have done top 5 of just the 30 for 30s alone. Right?
Yes.
Like there's so many good ones.
I also another honorable mention, the Arturo Gatti and Nikki Ward documentary that Jim Lampley narrates. That one was really good too. I could have put that one in at number 5. Number 4, we talked about it, but the UFC countdown shows are some of my favorite watches. I don't really like the embedded because I'm not a real big fan of watching vlogs, but I do like the documentary, being able to see the background of the training camp. I was lucky enough that when Shane was fighting, Shane Carwin, he invited my dad and a couple of my teammates down to watch him. So seeing that side of things has always been interesting to me. And I don't think it was started by HBO Boxing when they had their show, their lead-in series to their main boxing fights. But then UFC, the great narrator that they have, it's such a distinct voice. And when it starts, it's always going to be good things. So number 4 for me is the UFC countdown series anytime. Mainly when it's a big pay-per-view, but when it's out there, I'll watch anybody. I like learning about people. It's always cool to see the different training methods that different people have. So UFC countdown number 4 for me.
That's a good one.
This is where I'm stretching a little bit, but I'm not necessarily that big. I wasn't that big of a fan of documentaries or docuseries until watching this one, and then now seeing it, it's gone. If you haven't watched it, it's really good. But Blackfish, I believe there was just another orca attack recently, so I feel like you have to be ready for anything. But that is one of the craziest stories. I like the wild animals ones. I still have to watch Tiger King, but I listened to a podcast series on him and all the debauchery that went out there. We watched the Chimp Crazy one where the woman got her face ripped off by her pet monkey, but Blackfish was the first one. If you see the orca's dorsal fin leaning, that means that he's very depressed and he's going to start eating his trainers. So it's probably not the best thing to keep instigating him at that point.
No, I'd let you have your caveat, even though it doesn't fit on the sports one. I remember watching that one back in the day and realizing how bad SeaWorld is and how poor they run their things over there. So I let that one slide, but it fits perfectly.
I'm a little bit out there anyways, and when I was reading this, I probably had grass in my eye, and I missed when you said sports. But I already had this is the original list that I sent you, so I was already mainly going with sports documentaries anyways. Number 2, Football Life in America's Game. I couldn't decide between one because I like watching them for different reasons. Football Life is player specific. America's Game is the Super Bowl champions. That was how I memorized when I was freshman and sophomore in college. I could go from 1980 to the present of Super Bowl champions, and I watched every single America's Game documentary in my free time, which is why, I wasn't necessarily all that social when I was in college, but I did watch a lot of sports documentaries, and those two, the NFL Network, NFL Films in general, with all of the archive footage that they have, but those two are always done well. And it's nice to see, I like watching the 97 and 98 Broncos seasons. They had one where they talked about the best teams that never won, and a couple of the Bengals when they lost to the 49ers were in there. So either way, whether it's good or bad, I always liked and enjoyed the content that came out of those two.
Yeah, I mean, I just started watching a couple, and I've been just watching it in hotel rooms because it's the easiest thing that's been on. So I have been keep peeping around a couple of those. Watched the Michael Strahan one in a hotel a couple weeks ago. There's some really cool ones, really interesting ones.
They did one on the Rose Bowl game between Texas and USC with Vince Young and Reggie Bush. That was really good, and I think Matt Leinart too. The one that's tough to watch, but it's a great story and it's really inspiring is the Steve Gleason one. I don't know if you remember that name, but he was the guy that blocked the punt in the Superdome when they first came back from Katrina, and then it goes through his battle with ALS towards the end of his life and being there for his son when he's no longer there. So they do find different ways to tell really different stories, but they're all engaging and they all keep everybody's attention. So both those are really good. And then the last one is the most recent one that I watched. Was scrolling through HBO Max one day, and obviously being an Avalanche fan, I'm going to be drawn to Gabe Landeskog's face. It's a very handsome Swedish man, and Clean Sheet was great because it was that look under the curtain where I mean, we talked about it. This was definitely a mentally draining experience for him over the last 3 years since they won the Stanley Cup. It was a freak injury that happened because some guy's skate was up and it sliced his leg, and then it worked into his knee, and it was a whole problem. It was good for a while, had setbacks, journaled all the way through it, vlogged all the way through it. He was very vulnerable in how he presented the information, but just seeing like the reason why he was voted one of the youngest captains in NHL history is because of what you see in the Clean Sheet documentary series. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. If you have a Max subscription, even if you're not an Avalanche fan, it's just really cool to see what athletes are willing to do to get over injuries. And when it happens, and hopefully, knock on wood, it's going to continue to happen in a good way. It's an awesome experience.
No, I mean, Landy's, like I said, it's such a fan favorite, and his story coming back this season was awesome. And the fact that they were able to document his process through it all is actually pretty incredible. So it's a great documentary.
Your list. Here we
go. My
top
5, I got a bunch of big hitters here. Obviously, look, I love sports docuseries, documentaries. I think there's been so many good ones over especially the last 10 years that have been so good, unbelievably good. A couple of honorable mentions, obviously the 30 for 30, the Fab Five, where they came out basically said, bitch, pansy, no good, wannabe, pretty boy. That's what they call them. That's still one of my favorite scenes in any documentary. 30 for 30 for them. The Dream Team had a great one as well come out about all that. That will tie into my first one a little bit. But number 5, the Redeem Team, the one that came out in 2022. For those that don't remember the Redeem Team had Kobe, LeBron, young KD, had Melo, had a really, really good young roster, and a team that was in 2008 when they won the gold medal, a team that lost 4 years prior in the semifinals, lost to Argentina and got the bronze medal in I believe it was Australia, I can't remember, but they won in 2008 in Beijing. The stories are just incredible coming from that. I remember specifically the one that just still stands out to me was a story about how Kobe ran through Pau Gasol's chest on the first pick of the game. And this is a guy he won a championship less than 3 months ago with the Lakers, right? And how Kobe just ran through his chest and set the tone in that gold medal game, being like, we're not here to lose and we're here to win. And the creation of the Redeem Team to win, not only just be a bunch of individuals and win, but a team and win. It's a really cool story. So the Redeem Team on the 2008 men's USA basketball Olympic team is incredible. So I highly recommend that. Number 4, the 30 for 30, the U. The U. I love the U. You know that we get to go to the U when we were little. Watching that as a kid and then being at the facilities, I remember just being there, being like, "This is where Ray Lewis stood. This is where Ed Reed came from. This is where the third leg Greg came from. This is where this is where all the great stories, fun stories of the prime of the Miami Hurricanes all came from." And we got to see the facilities firsthand and got to coach or be with Coach Stout. Like, it was such an incredible experience. I remember watching that, just falling in love with Miami Hurricanes and everything about them. And the stories coming from those seasons when they were in their prime was just absolutely hilarious. Like going back, watching those scenes and the different stories they had around the team and all the NFL talent and Hall of Fame level talent they have. the U was something special in the late 90s and early 90s. They were something special.
They had a full all-pro teams as second stringers because they just were young coming into the Miami at that point. And I forget sometimes, like Santana Moss and Jeremy Shockey, another, like those guys when they were playing for them. Clinton Portis, yep.
Yeah. They had so many just studs on that roster.
Willis McGahee.
Sean Taylor.
Oh my goodness, Sean Taylor.
So many. Like what Alabama was in the 2010s into current day football was what Miami was in the 90s, early 2000s. Just NFL talent. Maybe one day we'll compare the two and see what the talent between Alabama in the 2010s and the U between the 1990s and the early 2000s. Because I think it'd be really interesting to see putting those two teams up against each other and see who would come out, because it's a who's who of the 90s and early 2000s. So I'm
picturing a secondary of Ed Reed and Sean Taylor, and it just gives me nightmares.
That just unbelievable. The U was unbelievable. Number 3, I put Last Chance U in general for a reason.
Because you like the basketball one too.
I love the basketball one. I know. I love the football one.
African Americans plus
Mark. But
I'm rocking with Mark.
I loved the football ones. Don't get me wrong. The football ones with
East Mississippi Community College,
Slapdick Enterprises, and Slapdick barbecue sauce, and all the wonderful stories of the craziness that is JUCO football.
I think my favorite is the second season when they have the big fat coach from Mississippi, and it's him driving in his truck. He's like, I feel like I just went too overboard last year. I cussed too much. I was too hard on the players. I'm not going to do that this season. And then 10 minutes later into the episode, it's just way worse. And he's calling people names. And like, I feel like he got fired. I don't know how they continued to get coaches to sign up for that show, because I feel like every single coach that was on that show got fired.
Except the basketball one, which I want to talk about the basketball one because East LA Community College, ELAC, like I loved the basketball show. I thought the talent there was so good. The backstories of the basketball was so much fun. Like football, I understand that football is the lifeblood of America. It's the number one sport. But you can't really get into a deep dive of all the talent on that roster. You look at some of the talent that was on that community college team that was in Kansas. Some of the best players that actually played in the league didn't get more than 5 minutes of airtime.
Because they were more focused on making it to the league than –
Exactly, more focused on getting to the league and all that. The basketball, you got in-depth on every single player because there's only 15 guys on the roster. So it made it even more fun, and the Coach Mosley is incredible. I know some people were like, the basketball one, who the fuck cares? I promise you, it's worth the watch. If you care a little bit about basketball, you are going to love Last Chance U basketball. I've been dying for them to come back with another season of that. And from East LAC, it's Last Chance U is absolutely must watch. If you have not watched it, lived under a rock, you got to start the first season of Last Chance U football and then go all the way up until Last Chance U basketball. It was incredible. Number 2, frankly, the one that has really set the new wave of sports documentaries, especially through Netflix, it's Formula One Drive to Survive, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Formula One, a real sport. Yes, it is. It is a sport. I'm watching the last season. Formula One Drive to Survive is the one that set up the SEC thing you're about to watch next month. It's the one that set up quarterback, the one that set up receiver, the one that set up golf
full swing,
the one that set up the new NASCAR one. Drive to Survive is now
the horse racing one.
Drive to Survive is now on their 8th season. They have gone 8 straight years. That just shows how great of product they've been, and the one that really implemented it all. Like I am a guy that thought racing was dumb. Not gonna lie. Don't love NASCAR. I love the stories from Formula One. I don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and watch Formula One on a Sunday. I still think it's not very entertaining to watch on TV. But watching the documentary side and hearing all the backstories and hearing all the rivalries and all the fun little tidbits about it, Formula One Drive to Survive does it better than anybody. I'll say it. They do it better than anybody. And it makes me invested in racers. It makes me invested in what's going on in the world of racing and the beautiful tracks and the beautiful places they go.
It is. I mean, and especially with the release of the movie with Brad Pitt, F1, I feel like it's going to get even more popular. And I didn't realize they were in their 8th season. By the way, Broncos minority owner Lewis Hamilton.
Exactly. If you're a Broncos fan, you got to watch it. Especially, I believe it's season 4. maybe season 5, I can't remember. But there was a season where Lewis Hamilton and now the best driver in the world, Max Verstappen, were going head to head, and there was a big controversy in the last race and why Max Verstappen won the drivers' championship, which is obviously the best driver in the world, over Lewis. So I highly recommend it. If you even go back and watch one season, go back and watch that one season because it is. I remember the second that came out, I believe 3 years ago, being like, I need to watch this. This is going to be so good. And everyone talking on Twitter, can't wait for Drive to Survive. The stories are going to be great. People are going to be at each other's nuts. There are so many fun stories in the world of Formula One that you don't even think you'll love. But like you're like, damn, that's a cool story. Damn, that's a fun story. Damn, this is cool. Like it's just like things that makes you feel good about a sport that frankly you can watch the whole season and have no idea what happens because you don't pay attention to Formula One, right? Because I don't know what happened last season outside maybe who won, which I think I know who won, but I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know who won each race. I don't know how this guy got to whatever. I'm watching it live and basically like a real sports world watching it, how it goes and what happened last season. It's absolutely incredible. Highly recommend it. And number one, it is the greatest episodic documentary I think that's ever been created. And I don't think there's an argument. The Last Dance, I don't know how they got this much footage from Michael Jordan, who is the most incognito person on the planet, who doesn't like to have
for it.
I know he asked for it, but like it's beautiful. It is magnificent. I watched parts of The Last Dance in the hotel last week because ESPN has nothing else to show during the week, so they show it, just have it running on ESPN. This came out during COVID, so we had nothing else to do. So we all waited each Monday and being like, Last Dance is coming out this week, got to watch it, and that's what people did right in the middle of COVID. The Last Dance documentary and everything into that last season of the Prime Bulls and they're winning the NBA championship. It's magnificent. It's magnificent. They tie in so many different things. They tie in the Dream Team story. They tie in the Space Jam, how Jordan did that. They tie in Jordan's betting problems, his baseball problem, his betting problems, his baseball story.
I had no idea about Jerry Krause, and that was the first of the GMs to really have a war with the head coach and the star players. So
exactly, like there's so many fun, crazy stories that you just didn't hear about until this documentary came out.
Honestly,
you were just like, wow, this is incredible that they were able to hide these stories and then bring it to light all in the 21st century. It's incredible.
And they had so much archived footage of that run. Like a lot of it was shot it was shot live. And it was interesting to me that they didn't have a scoreboard on the entire time. Like you would have to listen to the announcer. And I forgot Bob Costas was a play-by-play guy, but you'd have to listen to him say the score and how much time is left. They would flash it up on the screen every now and then, but it wasn't constantly there. So it's like, it is stepping back into an era that we're never going to see again. Basketball doesn't get played that way anymore. And we talked about it last week. Adam Silver and David Stern have different philosophies on how the league is best. No dynasties. You have to parity. New champion every single year. I'm shaking a new GM's hand every single year. That's Adam Silver's philosophy. That was the anti Last Dance philosophy, but that was great. I mean, the soundtrack too. I have a couple songs on my workout playlist. I'm Bad by LL Cool J. I first heard that in the documentary series in like episode 1 or 2. I was like, that's fucking good. I like that a lot.
The series intro, the Bulls intro, they played that this weekend when we were in Chicago. I was like, "God, this is fucking sick." I had a walk-in shirt with a D Wade Bulls shirt that I walked in with this past week. Look, I'm a Nuggets fan till the day I die. But the lore, I have a Jordan jersey hanged up in my apartment for a reason. The lore of Jordan is it's cool when you get to see all the background stories of one of the greatest athletes, if not the greatest athlete of all time.
Yep. All right, let's get into our segments and finish this one up before we send everybody off on their weekend. Starting with Player of the Week, best that we saw this weekend. Wimbledon is over. The fortnight is done, and that ties into yours. So who do you have for Player of the Week?
I have Jannik Sinner, obviously won Wimbledon this past week. I didn't watch it, unfortunately. It's just weird that the lore has kind of dropped off without Nadal, without Djokovic, without Federer, without like the big four. But Jannik Sinner, a guy that lost the French Open pretty embarrassingly too, because he had a big lead against Alcaraz in the French Open, and he comes back and beats Alcaraz in the Wimbledon final. He's Italian, by the way. It's an incredible story, and Sinner had a great tournament, dominated Djokovic in the semifinal, who was my player of the week last week. Didn't end out bad juju there by me, giving Djokovic his flowers and then him losing the next day as we recorded. But Jannik Sinner, incredible tournament by him, Wimbledon champion.
That is a rivalry that we're probably going to be seeing for at least a couple of years, because that was the championship of the two biggest tournaments so far, and I don't see that slowing down. If you were aware, you're like a lot of people. The people who did watch were unhappy with it, but the Home Run Derby was last night, excuse me. As we're recording this Tuesday. So Monday night, the Home Run Derby happened. The Big Dumpa got the dub. Cal Raleigh wins the Major League Home Run Derby. This was probably the coolest of the events that we went to an All-Star weekend.
Still my favorite. My favorite, like one of my favorite events I've ever been to.
Favorite events, but also like I've never had to have my head on a swivel as much as I was, like especially being in Colorado. You forget, like they were hitting some piss missiles out there to the bleachers, and you're just like, shoo, I didn't bring a glove.
Everybody get off your phone. They probably should have done this, but they have a message out there. Everyone, please get off your phone for the next 3 minutes while this batter takes 100 balls and throws it deep and sends them flying 1,000,000 miles per hour to the stands.
Yes.
Oh, the Home Run Derby. Like I said, I still to this day think the Home Run Derby is one of the most fun events you'll ever go to. Although I will say the lore of it is dying a little bit.
The new rules are so convoluted. Suck. It makes no sense. Suck.
You should just do 10 outs. And I remember Josh Hamilton dropping 30 in Old Yankee Stadium, and that being so much fun. The rules suck. I wish they could change them. And our good friends at Fat Boy Fadeaway brought this up. It's like, it kind of sucks when the Home Run Derby doesn't have juice ball players in it. It's a bunch of guys jacked up on roids.
Have you seen the dumper on Cal Raleigh? I mean, that can't be natural.
I don't know, but remember how jacked Josh Hamilton was for fucking 30 home runs in the fucking stadium?
Mark McGuire is still my forearm inspiration.
Oh my God.
He was able, like when he would like grip down on the bat, and you would see the sawdust from just he's just bringing out the steroids, bringing out the roid rage on that bat there.
All I'm saying is it was a lot more entertaining when somebody was actually hitting double-digit home runs, and it was actually not guys coming out of breath. It was just swinging for power, and that's it.
By the way, Cal Raleigh's first catcher to ever win the Home Run Derby. So congratulations to him. Hopefully it doesn't jack up his swing, because I think he's on pace to have the most home runs ever by a catcher in a season. And it would really suck if winning the Home Run Derby was...
Pete has won the last 3 years before that. So and his swing this year is a lot better than it was the last couple of years. So maybe it is a bad omen.
That is like a baseball thing. Normally people if you want to go deep into the playoffs, you would avoid the Home Run Derby because it takes like a month to get your swing back to where it needs to be.
Or if you're a Christian Yelich for certain reasons. My bench over the week, I think it fits in with this. Jazz Chisholm. He had 3 home runs. The number 3 on his jersey also fit with the amount of the home runs he hit.
It was as disappointing of a performance as Shohei. When Shohei was here, and I think he hit 5, maybe. He
still went crazy in the first round, but he lost in the second round because he had a poor performance, if I remember correctly. Jazz, he had 3 home runs. We've had guys hit 4 home runs in a game this year. You're there for a reason, and this is the best we can do. There wasn't one guy you could have paid a couple extra grand to, being like, hey, come do this. We know you probably don't care about this, but you can win a couple grand and you do it. They had to pick Jazz Chisholm. Okay.
Well, I mean, he was the cover athlete from 2 years ago. So I think that they're trying, but that's a far cry. He was on Miami at that point, and I think he's out in Washington now. I don't pay attention to baseball, so it makes no difference to me. My bench warmer of the week is the injury bug, because this is totally derailed, I think, what the WWE was trying to do on Saturday night and Saturday night's main event. Seth Rollins and LA Knight. The sequence was a lot of springboard action, finishing with like a springboard moonsault that LA Knight rolled out of the way of. When Rollins landed, it looks like it's going to be an ACL. That's kind of like what it looked like there, but not a doctor. Don't pretend to play one on TV. It just sucks because now they're going to have to switch everything, and it might be better because I think they're going to actually go with the Braun Breaker World Heavyweight Championship faster than what they would have. But now we have to watch Paul Heyman just talking with the briefcase while Rollins is rehabbing, and who knows how long it's going to be. But other things did kind of make this feel a little bit better, especially at the end of Monday Night Raw. Did you see the big return that happened?
Yeah, I know our OTC one. I don't know why the fuck they're calling it OTC one now, but OTC one is back. Look, it's cool. We have 5 months left in the year. There's one thing I care about in WWE right now. It's what are we doing with John the last 5 months? Have you seen Superman, by the way?
I, again, need to wait till Thursday, payday, but we're going to get – I probably will watch it.
I'll tell you one thing. There are some things you will want to see. You'll want to see in the movie, is all I'll say. It's not even that big of a spoiler, but you'll want to see.
Okay.
A couple things for the movie you'll want to see. That's all I'll say.
My antenna is up.
Very good. I loved it. I know people hated it. I loved it. I know people hated
Everybody
it.
says that because you know what, they're hating this one for the opposite reason that they hated the Snyder one. So I'm kind of over giving the haters their time because it makes no difference. You hated it when he wasn't the character from the comics. Now they made him the character from the comics and you hate it anyways. I think that it'll be fine. I like the Man of Steel movies. The Man of Steel movies are good. I love a 6'4", 275, jacked up Henry Cavill as Superman.
Cornyn Worth, whatever. David, look, he's jacked. He's not tiny by any means.
I thought because I was texting my buddy today. Shout out Garrett, my former punter in college, and he was like, "The guy's 6'4", 245." I was like, "Oh, well, the commercials it makes it look like he's 180." So it was
a big human being. He's not tiny.
I was expecting something different, but I'm glad that it was good. I'm excited to see it. Finishing up with play of the week. What do you have for play of the week?
Yes, my play of the week. There was a detonation dunk that happened in the summer league, and the guy's name is Johnny Furphy. I know we don't play videos, but I want you to look up Johnny Furphy and just the picture of this dunk and the guy's face he dunked on, because he cocked this sumbitch back. And this guy's face, I feel so bad for the kid because he's an 18-year-old from Europe. But it looks like he just got possessed. His name is JOHNNYFURPHY. Johnny Furphy.
Yeah.
He had this detonation dunk
pull it up now.
where this poor guy he dunked on. I feel so, I don't even know the guy's name, but I don't know how you recover from this picture. It's tough. It's a tough look. Yep, that's the one. Look at this guy's face. I want to zoom in. I want to zoom in on this guy's face. If you are just listening to the show, first of all, where have you been? Go watch the video on YouTube. Second of all, Johnny Furphy dunked all over this poor guy, and the guy's poor face, he cocked this sumbitch all the way back. It is one of the how can we have oh man, it's incredible. It's so good. This is why I love Summer League, because you have no names, just dunk on people and just go all out because they're trying to fight for a roster position. So Johnny Furphy's detonation dunk. Also, honorable mention. I know what your play of the week is, but honorable mention here. The kid that robbed the home run derby ball is actually pretty electric. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
That was
I didn't watch
funny.
the second. I didn't watch the second of the home run derby.
It was kind of funny. I saw a kid rob. I think he was a Mariners fan because it was against the Rays guy in the final. But he robbed the guy of the home run. They did give it to him, which I think is a little bullshit. But I laughed out loud. The dude jumped up, went over the wall, and caught the home run ball in the home run derby. I thought it was hilarious.
You're taking your job too seriously, guy. My play of the week, we should have talked about it last week because that's when it happened. I did get to listen. He was on Chicklets. So Nick Ternasky, because I keep saying it and spelling it wrong. Ternasky, former NHL enforcer, played 13 years in the NHL and AHL. Guy got too drunk and was slow playing. This is probably resonates more with you because I suck at golf anyway. So I'll play at whatever pace anybody wants. I just don't want to slow anybody down.
Either, Jimmy. I hate to break the news to you. I'm not very good.
No, but if we tried to mark every single one of my balls, we'd be there forever. So I get it. But the slow playing, being told, the thing is, when you're squaring up and the guy says, "You don't want this. You should walk away right now. I'm going to throw you in that pond," and he does it. And then you still get back up and you go at him again with your hands down. Yeah, you deserve to get your face caved in and have a Mike Breen soundtrack by himself. Bang, 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 bang. And then get tossed in the pond again for good measure. Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out this week. Next week. I'm excited for that. This was like the closest thing that we've seen to Bob Barker versus Happy Gilmore on a golf course in a long time.
was great. It was great. It was hilarious. I didn't even know the guy played hockey until you said it. I saw a video, didn't even know the guy played hockey, but it's incredible.
Yeah,
Wrong person to mess with.
He was on the biggest goon squad of all goon squads in the KHL. Like this Russian owner literally had all NHL enforcers, which included the guy that's in Shorzy. Now I can't think of his name, but the guy with the mohawk that just fights everybody, and they would just brawl. Like their owner would pay them an extra $1,000 to start a full team brawl, and that's all they did. That's the guy that you challenge on the golf course.
Speaking of documentaries, the Trashers, that documentary was also incredible. The Untold Trashers one, that's an honorable mention. That with all the fighting and the minor league hockey team being not even minor league hockey team, basically men's league hockey team being run by a fucking son, an 18-year-old kid.
Mobster. It's a good family. It's a family business.
It's great. Awesome.
Family. They named the Trashers because we work in sanitation. It's a
stereotype.
stereotype.
Now they run I don't even know if it's around still, but there was a on the ice fighting league where two guys fight on skates now, and they run the league, by the way.
Nice.
I don't know what's called that, but I know that they ran that. I don't know if it's still around, but I remember seeing promotion for it. So maybe that's something we figure out to do during the summer. And when they travel here, I guess we'll go see. He's got nothing else to do.
Yeah, no,
besides PLL. I know I had to throw that in there. Also, I know we're almost ending the show. The Rockies may have a little hope.
Don't say that. Don't say
there
that.
There may be a little bit of hope.
No. No hope.
Getting Matt Holloway's son. That's
if he doesn't decide to go to college.
I don't think he is.
I don't know.
There's a little bit of hope.
If he's as good as his brother, it'll be nice.
I've been told he's better. He's bigger. Apparently, he can hit for more power.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, I love Matt Holloway. He was one of my favorite Rockies of all time. 2007 Rockies. So much fun, right? He touched home plate. They're giving me hope. I can't believe they are. We're gonna have to have Christian on at some point this summer to talk about this because I love it. I love that he actually did the smart thing and said, "Yeah, we'll take the best player available, and it's gonna be Matt Holloway's son." It's awesome. I think it's a great sign. Like, he won't play for another 3 years in the big leagues, but in 3 years, it's going to be fun. I don't know.
As long as it doesn't rail this historically bad season, because we do need to be historically bad for this season to be worth it. And yes, we will have Christian on to discuss what is actually happening out there at Blake Street. Talked a lot about everything. Hopefully everybody enjoys watching Dustin Poirier for the last time in the UFC this weekend. If you're checking that out, if you're watching PLL, roll Woods. Let's make sure that those boys stay on track and keep their playoff hopes alive.
We're not on track. We've lost 4 in a row. So let's get
back on track. Get back on the right track.
And
let's make sure that you don't finish last in your division, make the playoffs. And everybody enjoy their weekend. Episode 239 of the Far End of the Bench. For myself, Jimmy Pilato, my co-host Niko Bryant. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.